A new venue, a new agenda, a new look. Expo was the relaunched version of our very successful Energy Live conference. And this year's theme was all about the state we're in, with changes in policy, the increased demand on energy, and the main issue of how we transition to green dominating the headlines. There was plenty to talk about. Opening the session was a headline speech from the chief economist of Ernst & Young. Mark Gregory said that the energy sector had now become a political football.
Investment in the energy sectors increased after the financial crisis, but has really started to tail off. And I would argue, and we could put oil on there and it would look similar, you are in the eye of the political storm. You are at the sort of place where this policy uncertainty is going to be most important, because you're actually one of the sectors who has the longest lead times in terms of your investment.
Despite Mark's gloomy economic forecast of the lack of investment in the energy sector, our panel that followed on was a little bit more optimistic. In particular, Michael Gibbons from Elexon, who said the current climate means that energy companies have to take things into their own hands.
Well, my general message on predictability is, I think predictability, if it was ever a common feature of our industry, is unlikely to be a common feature for quarters, years to come. And indeed, business models that rely on predictability, and in particular rely on government decision-making, are likely to be in peril. You will make your money by being agile and reacting to change.
As the discussion moved on, Louise Kingham from the Energy Institute said there were 4 priorities that needed to be taken into consideration.
And I think that's where we start to look at energy in 4D.
4D?
4D.
You've moved on from 3.
So,
not 4K, 4D.
Four words, and Volker and some other members of the Energy Institute very much involved in summarising this did it really nicely in the summer. So we talk about decarbonisation, which we all know about. We talk about decentralisation. We talk about digitalisation and democratisation.
Also on the panel was the chairman of Energy Live News, Volker Beckers. A former CEO of a Big Six company, he knows exactly what's going on in the investment picture in Europe, and said those on the continent are still unsure about whether to put their money here.
Whenever I come to these events, you look at speeches you did 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and 7 years ago, and we keep saying as an industry, there is no consistency. And yet, we had the CMA review, not even 18 months ago, we had another review, and yet we are kicking off the next review. And I think it's that uncertainty where investors, European investors, global investors, look at the UK and say, once this has settled, then we feel more comfortable investing in this country.
Once the plenary sessions were over, it was on to the content. Plenty of it this year, with 4 big partner stands producing 4 lots of varied content. We also had an igloo where we had an innovative showcase of new ideas. Amongst them was the concept that energy brokers could soon be facing a digital challenge in the form of AI.
Why do we use AI? Why do we use machines? They make less mistakes. They are available to us 24/7. The only cost of running our bots is electricity. People say AI leads to job losses. It eliminates certain jobs, but it changes the jobs that humans do. So we're doing things that are more intellectually stimulating and adding a lot more value. So brokers, I've no doubt brokers will survive in some form or another, just like energy suppliers will do, but their models will adapt significantly over the next 3 to 5 years.
One of the big issues affecting everyone is obviously market volatility, and that was one of the topics discussed on the npower stand, where experts said it was clear that there was more volatility in the future with the increasing use of renewable energy.
Renewable generation is starting to play a bigger part in the mix, and as a result we are seeing an increase in volatility there. In April we saw no coal generation online for the first time in over a century, and also in June we saw combined nuclear, wind and solar capacity outstripping the kind of conventional thermal generation, and that's really just showing that kind of change in the energy mix here in the UK, and that is only set to continue with more and more renewable projects due to come online.
With more than 600 delegates and sponsors, it was a packed day for networking. We had plenty going on and lots of great conversations. Their overall feeling was that, once again, it'd been a great event.
I've really enjoyed it. It's been excellent today. I like the change of venue. I think it's made it a bit fresher. I like the way that the topics are really up to date. All of the discussions this morning, really valuable for anyone attending today.
It's been really good, and I'm really glad I came down to experience this whole thing. This is my first Energy Live News conference actually, so I'm really glad I came from Scotland as well, which is really worth it.
Every year they get better, and every year there's more people here, more suppliers here, more old contacts that I've got from the industry, so it's been a really good day.
I thought it was really good. I'm from upstream in the oil and gas business, so this is all very new to me, and I thought it gave a really good overview of sort of from supplier to consumer and the different challenges that everybody's facing.
I think the way in which you bring fun to what can sometimes be considered quite a dull subject, really if we could have harnessed the energy in the room today, we could have powered a lot of homes.
And of course, it wouldn't be an Energy Live event without a little bit of unforeseen excitement. To end the day, our own version of Blind Date, our own terrible version of Cilla Black.
Hello, lovies! Cilla's here for you! Cilla's here!
Luckily, neither will be making an appearance next year. Sumit Bose, Energy Live News, Central London.